Hey guys, let's get more news about Miami Heat, but first, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave a like. Heat have lost 8 straight for the first time since 2008 and are searching for answers. The last time a Miami Heat team lost 8 consecutive games, before now, was 2008. Erik Spoelstra was an assistant coach in Pat Riley's final season on the sideline. And that team, to put it bluntly, was tanking. This team isn't. The Heat, who just followed an 0-5 homestand with 2 road losses that came by a combined 55 points, are back home for 5 more games starting Wednesday against Detroit, with their season either on the brink or possibly even more dire already. The latest loss, the 8th in a row overall and the team's 22nd in its last 31 games, was Monday at New York. Knicks 116, Heat 95 was the final, a game where Miami jumped out to a 12-0 lead that didn't mean much of anything. "We all getting tested, I said this before, including myself," Spoelstra said after the loss to the Knicks, one that sent him to the longest losing streak of his career. "There's no one that's absolved from this. I have not come up with enough answers for this team. I have to do a better job. Our group has to do a better job." Miami has fallen to the number 10 spot in the Eastern Conference, technically tied with number 9 Chicago at 29-39, but the Bulls hold the tiebreaker edge. The play-in tournament is the only realistic path to the playoffs for the Heat now. If they stay 10th, they'd have to win 2 road games just to have the right to face the number 1 seed, probably Cleveland, in round 1. And this isn't a slump. This is a collapse. They can't score, they can't hold leads, and nobody has any solutions. The Heat have been held under 100 points in 3 consecutive games for the first time since November 2018. They're 10 games under .500 for the first time since 2016-17, when they started 11-30 and then went 30-11 the rest of the way. They wasted a double-digit lead on Monday night, a 13-point edge, for the 18th time this season, tying Utah for the most such losses in the league. How did that 13-point lead get away? The Heat gave up a 76-36 run. That's how. "It's frustrating," Heat forward Jamie Jaquez Jr. said. "We're going through the dark days right now. They've lost 17 games in which they've led after the first quarter, the second most such losses in the NBA this season. They've lost 11 games in which they've led going into the fourth quarter, tied for the most such losses in the league. They've been outscored by 20 or more points in a quarter 7 times this season, including once on Monday. When it goes bad, it goes really bad for Miami. Anyone would just quit and get comfortable with losing and feel sorry for themselves," Heat guard Tyler Herro said. "But obviously, nobody feels sorry for us. We have to dig ourselves out of this hole. It all starts in this locker room. Somehow, these days are even rougher for Miami than the Jimmy Butler suspension sagas were in December, January, and February before he got traded to Golden State for Andrew Wiggins. Let it fly. Radical change could help save the Heat's season. The Miami Heat's losing streak has stretched to 7 games, and the team is desperately searching for answers. Tyler Herro's candid assessment reveals a stark truth: the Heat are missing Jimmy Butler's clutch playmaking ability. "I think Jimmy was really good at making the right play at the right time, whether it was for him or a teammate," Herro told reporters recently. "So I think that's just part of mine and Bam's process of continuing to get better." Herro and Bam Adebayo are going through growing pains as they try to fill the void left by Butler's departure. But can they realistically replicate his late-game steadiness? Butler's knack for making the right play at the right time, whether scoring or finding an open teammate, was invaluable. He could take over games, get to the free throw line, and make smart decisions under pressure. The Heat's fourth quarter woes are glaring. Since January 1st, they're shooting an abysmal 29% on threes in the final frame, dead last in the league. Meanwhile, opponents are hitting 36.5% from deep against them. This massive disparity helps explain why Miami keeps coming up short in crunch time. Coach Erik Spoelstra is experimenting with new starting lineups, but that feels like rearranging furniture. The roster simply lacks a true closer who can consistently create advantages and make plays down the stretch. So what's the solution? Here's a radical idea. What if the Heat embraced chaos and completely changed their identity? Play fast, let it fly from three, and try to win with variance. Have Bam push the pace off rebounds. Let Herro and Duncan Robinson launch with abandon. Encourage everyone to push and pull up. Is it pretty? No. Is it Heat culture? Definitely not. But desperate times call for desperate measures. This team needs a jolt of energy and joy. Pushing the pace and bombing away could provide that spark while potentially stealing some wins through sheer shot volume. Will Spoelstra actually implement such a drastic shift? It's difficult to change an identity this late in the season, and the Heat have loved grinded-out defensive battles over the last half-decade. But something needs to change, and fast. Otherwise, this season risks spiraling even further out of control for a proud Miami franchise unaccustomed to extended stretches of losing. The Heat are at a crossroads. They can keep banging their head against the wall with their current approach. Or they can embrace the chaos, let it fly, and see what happens. At this point, what do they have to lose? Michael Jordan warned Scottie Pippen and Horace Grant that he'd take 65 shots before Game 3 against the Heat. The Chicago Bulls and Miami Heat faced off in the first round of the 1992 NBA playoffs, and Michael Jordan reportedly had a stern warning for Scottie Pippen and Horace Grant the night before Game 3. With the series shifting to Miami, Jordan told Pippen and Grant that they could go out if they wanted, but they better perform in the game or he'd take 65 shots. "If you guys want to go out tonight, go ahead," Jordan said. "But if you can't perform tomorrow, I will take 65 ****ing shots." A lot of players have been tempted to head out the night before a game in Miami over the years, considering the nightlife. Their busy schedules don't allow them to head over to South Beach all the time, so they do get the temptation to have some fun before they play the Heat. Whether Pippen and Grant went out that night or not, Jordan did not end up taking 65 shots in Game 3. He did attempt 30 and made 20 of them to finish with 56 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, 4 steals, and 2 blocks to lead the Bulls to a 119-114 win. It was just yet another incredible Jordan playoff game. While Jordan stole the headlines with that outing, Pippen had a great game too. He had 31 points, 12 to 23 FG, 8 rebounds, 5 assists, and 2 blocks against the Heat. Jordan certainly would have had no reason to be upset with Pippen over his performance. As for Grant, he had 8 points, 4 to 9 FG, 8 rebounds, 3 assists, and 2 steals for the Bulls against the Heat. While that seems underwhelming, he wasn't really asked to take too many shots. In fact, Grant only attempted 10 or more shots once in the first 2 rounds in that playoff run for the Bulls. His primary role on that team was to rebound and defend, and he did that fairly well during his time in Chicago. The Bulls would eventually go on to defend their title in 1992, beating the Portland Trail Blazers in 6 games in the NBA Finals. Another triumph followed the next year as they completed a historic three-peat. Getting back to Jordan, this was certainly not the first time that he had issued a warning to his teammates. NBA writer Sam Smith revealed that during the 1990-91 season, Jordan had warned Pippen and Grant not to pass the ball to Bill Cartwright in the last 4 minutes of games. He told them they would never get the ball from him if they did so. Jordan was extremely harsh on Cartwright for years as he was upset his good friend Charles Oakley had been traded for him. He did eventually come to recognize that he was in the wrong and acknowledged that the big man played his part in that three-peat. And you, fan? What do you think about Michael Jordan's situation? Write to us in the comments.